I'm at QuiltCon 2016 in Pasadena, California with Sarah Fielke. Sarah, this is wonderful that you're here. It's quite a treat for everyone at QuiltCon because you are from?
I'm from Australia, from Sydney.
And you're teaching here?
I am, yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Australia. What's the quilt scene like there?
There's a lot of quilters in Australia, actually, Alex. We're the third biggest quilting market in the world. So there are a lot of quilters and a lot of people doing traditional quilting, but also a lot of modern quilters.
Now, you had a quilt shop. Tell us about the history of that.
Yeah, so we opened my first quilt shop, my only quilt shop. It's about 10 years ago now. And when we opened, we wanted modern, bright fabric. It was around the time Amy Butler was bringing out her very first line. And we brought that into the shop with a lot of trouble. We had a lot of trouble getting it, and it just took off, and we were just in the right place at the right time, doing something different.
So how is the modern movement different in Australia, or is it not? Is it the same?
I think it's the same. I just think that Australians are naturally, our quilts are lighter and brighter and sort of more open to start off with, and so I think it's a much easier thing for Australians to embrace modern quilting. Certainly the fabrics and the use of space in modern quilting is very suited to Australian quilters.
Now, this is a tough question. What would you say the ratio is?
Whoa,
I know.
That's really, really hard. I still think that most quilters would not identify themselves as being modern quilters, even though probably what they're using or the fabrics that they're using would certainly fit into that spectrum. I think there's still a lot of feeling that modern quilts means, improv or kind of, more arty. And I don't think a lot of people really understand quite what it is that they're doing.
Would you consider this modern, this quilt behind us, that's yours?
No, I would not. And I've actually brought it on purpose.
Okay, tell me about it.
So this is a quilt from my new book. It's called Old Quilts, New Life. And I wrote this book using quilts from the American Folk Art Museum in New York. And the idea of it was, because I love antique quilts, I'm really, really passionate about history in general. Yes, I know. Me too. I know that. And so what I did was I took 9 of my favourite antique quilts from the museum. I remade them to my own pattern using modern fabric. And then I made a modern quilt using an element from the antique quilt. So each quilt in the book has a pair.
Did you learn anything studying those quilts?
Yes, I always learn something from antique quilts. Every time I make one or fall in love with one, you find something new and different. It's endless juice.
and then getting out of the modern mode but into the traditional everything's got to be right mode. How do you feel about that as far as the antique quilts that you looked at the museum? Were they precise? Were they playful? Were they loose, I guess?
A real mix. I think there's a big perception that traditional quilts are perfect and modern quilts are not, and I don't subscribe to that. I think that you ought to be able to make the quilt you want to make, and if perhaps your points don't meet, that's okay, because there was plenty of the antique quilts where the points did not meet. So you look at them and they're not perfect, and yet they're perfect.
Now, you said this is your latest book.
Yes.
So you have other books.
Yes, I've written 6 books. This is the 6th one. The first 2 were called Material Obsession, which is the name of the shop that I used to own. And then I've had 4 on my own.
Okay.
Well.
So how does somebody get them? I have to tell you guys, this is a beautiful book. It's absolutely exquisite.
Thank you.
How would I buy this?
It's available worldwide, so you hopefully will find it in your patchwork shop.
Right.
But if you don't, Amazon or Book Depository or any good bookshop,
okay,
to find it.
And then what do you teach in here?
So I'm teaching hand quilting. I do.
Yay!
I love to hand quilt. I'm really passionate about it. I do what's called big stitch hand quilting, although I take exception to that.
Is that hard?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It takes practice like anything else, but no, it's not hard.
It's about the evenness of it, right? Okay.
Yes, that's right. So I'm teaching hand quilting. I'm teaching 2 different hand applique classes. One in modern Hawaiian applique.
Oh,
which is really fun. And then one in my needle turn applique technique, which is kind of a bit different than maybe other people's, a little bit more accessible. And I'm teaching improv lettering.
Okay, as far as teaching goes, do you teach worldwide? Do you pretty much stay in Australia? What's the deal if all of a sudden I go, I want to get you at my guild? What's the deal?
I teach worldwide. I come to the US 3 or 4 times a year. And I travel a lot. I'm in Europe this year and Britain, and I'm all over the place.
Awesome. Well, have a great time here. I've already gone in and seen some of the quilts. Oh, They're amazing, and they're so different.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the show.
Well, thank you for taking time to be with us. I know you're busy. You got lots to do here, and
Thank you for having me.
congratulations, beautiful.
Thanks, Alex.